Welcome to the Dollars and Cents Podcast with Wes the Economist and Jonathan the Conspiracy Theorist, coming to you live from the Wave Beach Realty Studios in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Call us today at 843-957-3872.
This segment brought to you by Eisenhower Dental. Reach out to them at 843-234-3110.
All right, guys, welcome back into the newest episode of the Dollars and Cents Podcast with Wes the Economist and Jonathan the Conspiracy Theorist, coming to you live from North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We are back. What season? What episode are we on here?
I knew you were asked that. I should have looked it up beforehand.
Yeah, it's like 30, 37, 38. We're somewhere in there.
Why am I all the way over here? Episodes. Let's see. I think we're 36, I believe.
Yeah, we're back, though.
I think it's 36.
Well, 34.
What?
34? Right?
Published. Where's the one for? No, we're 34, 35. I didn't get them posted. I got to get on the ball. I don't know how I missed that.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I'm in trouble. 36 is right there. 33 was last Monday. 34, 35. 36.
Yeah, okay.
So we're
Gotcha.
36.
All right, 36.
36.
All right.
As we have a production meeting online again.
Right. So what are we discussing today?
Well, you know the news last week with the in Thursday, I guess it was Wednesday night, going into Thursday, where the plane crashed. And it's brought up this whole discussion of merit, which Trump had been talking about ahead of time, and really across the country, we've seen people talking about it more and more about, are we hiring because we're trying to check off boxes of a certain type of person, or do we want the person best qualified?
Right.
And we've had this big fight, this DEI fight across the board with all these people.
Yep.
And it really, to me, is a much bigger picture than that.
Yeah.
And it goes back to, I was telling you before we got on the air, giving our kids participation trophies.
Yeah.
Instead of having something to strive for.
Right.
And it's almost like everything now gears around that.
Yeah. It's like it's like just getting paid to show up, or just getting something for just showing up. It's like, oh, well, you tried, so you're still a winner. And it's like, well, that's not how the world works.
No, not at all.
Unfortunately, it's not that easy.
It's almost like we tried to make the world work like that.
Yeah, and that just doesn't.
Yeah, and we're seeing it doesn't.
I think it's in my life, I've learned a lot more from the times I've failed than the times I've succeeded. So when you when you pat everybody on the back and tell them they're always succeeding, when a real problem happens in life, they're not going to be able to get through it because they're not used to failure. And I think showing, especially at a young age, having to deal with failure early on it builds character and it builds resilience. So when real failures happen in your life later on as you get older, because life's tough and there's a lot of problems you go through, if you're not prepared for those and you just think it's a walk in the park, you're going to be hit pretty hard with reality at some point. Yeah,
exactly. And I think a lot of people are now getting hit with that reality.
Yeah.
I mean, I see the TikTok videos and everything online, people just whining about everything.
Yeah.
I didn't get this, I didn't get that, this is unfair, that's unfair. I don't remember reading anywhere where life was fair.
Yeah, unfortunately it's not. Yeah, everybody's dealt different cards, none of it's fair. You just have to do the best with what you're given, and strive to be a better person every day in all aspects of your life. And sometimes you have some really rough days. Some days you have some really good ones.
Yeah.
Like for example, I was telling you before we got on air, one of the homes I'm renovating, I got some bad news on it today. That's unforeseen. That's gonna cost me a lot of money, and I could be upset about it and cuss and get mad. And
just to clarify, he wasn't when he was telling me about it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
He's not acting different on air.
It sucks, but it's just part of the risk I take, and it's nothing I wanted to hear. It was the worst news I could have received on a Friday today, as far as business goes.
Right.
But it is what it is, and all I can do is deal with it to the best of my ability and keep on moving, or I could just let it ruin my weekend for no reason. And
that's a pretty major thing to happen. When you're investing, obviously, again, you're taking risk. But for people who just go to work every day, it's almost like any kind of failure is the end of the world.
You're right.
And you couple that with what I believe is an epidemic of mental illness across the nation, which I also think has been caused a little bit by this not being held accountable for your actions, not being held up to a standard to do better.
Yeah.
Trying to make everybody feel equal,
Yep.
make everybody feel included, which I'm all for included people, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I don't want someone, well, just like in this instance, we don't, the pilots and all seem to be very good pilots.
Yeah.
It don't seem like it was any fault. This is just a lot of circumstances to be coming together to make this happen. Nobody's really at fault.
Right.
But if you Well, on the plane itself.
I would say the helicopter was probably at fault, if anything. I think they were in the plane's flight path.
Yeah, they flew right into it.
Yeah, so.
And there's discussion on whether or not they were told about the plane. I've heard people saying, well, they were focusing on a different plane that was taken off and never saw this one.
Yeah.
Usually, I saw a report before we came in that at that point there's usually 2 people handling the traffic, one for helicopters and one for planes, and that night only one person was handling both.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder why. There's questions of whether they were fully staffed, and of course people are trying to blame Trump for that because he fired all these people, but there was a report done by Glenn Beck back in, I think it was October, November, and it's still on his website on Blaze TV, where it literally says something like the upcoming airline devastation traffic accident or something. He literally foretold this like 2 or 3 months ago after a year investigation into our flight programs.
Got it.
And a lot of it came back to, are we hiring the right people to do the jobs?
Right.
And 2022, Pete Buttigieg put out a memo saying that 3% of the hiring by the FAA in these different departments needed to be disabled people, which I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
But he specifically said people who are completely deaf and people who are completely blind. Okay. FAA, I don't quite get that one.
Yeah, I feel like your sense of hearing and sight are probably the most 2.
I would think those are kind of important. Yeah. And then there was some other ones I don't disagree with, other things in that list. But the other one was people who are mentally deficient. Now, again, I'm not picking on anybody who's mentally deficient, but I don't think I want you running the FAA's targeted place, especially if you're talking about being a traffic controller, which I'm not sure these were specifically traffic controllers. I hope not.
Right.
But still, this idea we just want to be inclusive. We don't care if people are up to the task. It just scares me.
Right.
And we went through this whole thing with Delta and all. It really brings, to me, it's racist. Because then you kind of look at somebody getting on the plane, whether it be white, black, anything, and like, okay, I'm worried, does Delta hire this person to check a box, or they hired them because they're
the best pilot they could find for the
if they have a practice of taking 2 different pilots, 2 different ethnicities or races, and they both have the same qualifications, and they pick one for a check a box, okay, that's one thing.
Right.
But if you're overlooking people because they don't check the box and they're better at the job, then that's a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, I think it goes back to the mentality we've got to put in place. And not only we talk about sports with my kids, but school too.
Yeah.
I mean, literally when I was in Columbia, and this has been 10 or 12 years ago, there was one school district who went to, I forget the specific name of the testing, but basically students could take a test over and over again until they were satisfied with their grade. You couldn't change the test.
Right.
It was the same test, and you can come in and take it as much as you want.
That
doesn't make any sense.
The purpose of a test. That's not a test anymore.
Yeah. Nah. That's just checking a box.
Right.
I always say, and this came from a sociologist, I think we've mentioned this before, that a lot of these different places like schools and all have gone to this checking of boxes across the board, not only for merit, but also for just everything. And it comes from the law enforcement, what law enforcement did back in the 70s and 80s. They started making sure that they were checking the boxes. Didn't matter if you did anything or not, or if something happened, as long as you did what you were supposed to do. It's that bureaucracy thing of, okay, I've done my job.
Right.
And the example he gave to me was, just investigating murders and all like that. And he says, it's come to academia now. And I was like, what do you mean? This was like 2016, 15 or 16. And he said, well, even here where I'm working at now, he says they got all these initiatives. They don't care if they actually do anything as long as you've done it. And I said, okay, that's interesting. I didn't think much about it.
Yeah.
So the next day I was in the parking lot, and I ran into the retention manager, retention agent who used to be my boss. And he asked me, did you get a chance to do our program about trying to retain students? I said, yeah, but I'm not sure if it's really going to be as good as I thought it was going to be in my class. I may have tried to do something else. And his words to me were, well, it doesn't matter. As long as you tried, that's all that matters. Well, I thought we were trying to retain students.
Right.
No, we're not trying to. We're trying to show that we're trying to retain students.
Right.
And that just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a backwards way of thinking. Just doing something just to say, all right, well, we met all these guidelines, but it doesn't actually accomplish what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
It's literally just doing something to appease. It's not actually accomplishing anything, no matter what you do it in. So, yeah, this whole DEI and merit-based stuff, it's just it's becoming a problem, and I think we're starting to see some of the some of the negative effects of it.
I think we really are. Eisenhower Dental, located at 107 Waccamaw Medical Park Drive in Conway, a place where you can find all your dental services, including general dentistry, cosmetic, restorative, and pediatric dentistry. Reach out to them today at their website, eisenhowerdental.com, or call them at 843-234-3110, 843-234-3110, and tell them Wes the Economist sent you.
When life gets unpredictable, turn to a partner you can trust. At Bobby Clary State Farm, we've got you covered. Whether it's home, auto, or life insurance, we're dedicated to providing personalized coverage that fits your needs. With our friendly and knowledgeable team, navigating your insurance options have never been easier. Visit bobbyclary.com or call 843-438-6000. Bobby Clary State Farm, here to help life go right. Are you looking to buy a home in North or South Carolina? You need to reach out to Wave Beach Realty today. We are a family-owned company with over 10 years of experience in North and South Carolina and operate along the Grand Strand. Give us a call today at 843-957-3872. That's 843-957-3872. Thanks for listening to the Dollars and Cents Podcast with Jonathan the Conspiracy Theorist and Wes the Economist. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and X at DollarsCentsGS and on Facebook at Dollars and Cents.
This part of the show is brought to you by Clark Financial Coaching. Reach out to us at CoachWesC@gmail.com. That's CoachWesC@gmail.com to get a free consultation to help you get your financial picture in focus. The effects are out there, and I just hope we don't continue to see the effects.
Yeah.
I hope this whole thing in Washington has nothing to do with that.
Right.
I hope it's just basic human error.
Yeah.
Whether it be inside the control tower or the helicopters, the military, because these one they keep saying training missions, but these guys had hours of flight time. They were just training in their current environment.
Right.
So I hope they get to the bottom of it, and it's just okay. This is just a terrible, terrible mistake.
Right.
If it comes out that they had somebody in the tower that was not capable of doing the job, or one of the pilots through the DEI stuff in the Army should not have been flying, then that's unacceptable.
Right.
Completely.
Yeah,
of course,
absolutely.
This is not either. We need to fix whatever happened, but I hope it's not tied to that.
Yeah, I hope not. I've heard a couple different reports, and I saw on X, and I don't know the truth to them because I just saw them this morning, but I know they said that the person flying the helicopter, there was an instructor with them.
Yes.
But the person flying the helicopter had like 500 hours of experience, which seems like a good amount of experience.
Yeah.
I don't know what amount of flying time is for somebody who is considered a professional, but 500 seems like you know what you're doing at least to fly a Blackhawk.
Yeah. My looking at it, and again, I haven't dug into this event enough to know, but it looked like to me it was people who were already pilots in other parts of the Army and had been given this opportunity to fly dignitaries around Washington, and they were getting training, local training on that. Because these ones they had chosen to had exceeded the goals, and they were getting extra training.
Right, yeah.
So I hope that's all.
Yeah, so, obviously, with all the traffic and stuff that's in the air, I guess at some point you're bound to have one accident. I'm sure all of them can be prevented, but it's the same thing as like car crashes. You can say that they can all be prevented, but eventually something's going to happen. Yeah, in the air, it should be a little bit. There's a lot more space up there, and there's not lanes, and you got people literally telling you exactly where to be in the air at all times.
Yeah,
so it should be always avoidable. The tragedies like this shouldn't even happen. So it'll be interesting how the investigation goes and what they determine the actual cause was, but. I don't want to speculate too much because I know half the people are blaming Trump, half the people are saying this is DEI hires, and really no yet. It's happened so recently. We really just don't know.
We won't know for a while.
Yeah,
and I just hope we do know. At least with this government now, hopefully transparency is more than what we've had.
Yeah, this is one I will say though. I'm not buying into the conspiracies I've already heard. I don't think it was. People are saying that it was planned and all that. I just don't see the benefit of
planned.
Like
really?
that was if you go on X or some of these other sites, people are saying that they're like, how would a Blackhawk accidentally fly it? Like this is something's deeper here. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think nobody was on any of these flights or helicopters that were in any position where it's like, oh, we needed to take this person out. So because I think it was like a Olympic. It was kids Olympic or some type of
figure skating.
It's like
it had some Russian nationals.
Yeah.
And they try to get a gotcha question on Trump about, we don't have any really speaking ties with Russia. What are we going to do with these? He's like, we've already talked to him. It's already been arranged.
Yeah.
Can I get another question, basically?
Yeah, yeah.
They minor on the majors. I mean, major on the minors and don't look at really what's going on.
Yeah.
He actually told that one girl from, was it NBC? That's just really a dumb question.
He loves
saying it. It's surprising it's coming from you, too.
All right. Yeah. All right.
Have you noticed, I noticed it'll come out when we get to the confirmation hearings, we'll go podcast we'll do later in the week, but have you noticed that there's more and more politicians that act like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. People are like not holding back now. It's a little less holding back and just saying what you really mean, which is, I mean, there's no reason to, I know you're a politician, you have to like sugarcoat everything and be all polished, but sometimes I don't want to see that. I just want to see like, you know, because you show like your actual humanity when you're like really actually upset about something, or you're it's just, I'm not used to seeing like politicians be more as open as they are right now, and it's actually good to see, because you can actually see like, okay, they actually have a little bit of fight in them. They're not just grandstanding and sugarcoating everything and just kind of doing the typical politician crap.
It is also showing to me those people who are there not on their merit.
Right. Like yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And again, we'll get it with the confirmation hearings, I'm sure, but there's been some really stupid questions in the hearings.
Oh man, I
wonder how many of these politicians have gone through this same type of lifestyle, and they went to school and got, you're a good student, and they've been patted, and they got in the right circle, and they got to be politicians. And I don't know. We really need to get back to, people need to strive to be the best at whatever they want to do, and have fun doing it.
Yeah,
and not this. Okay, we're just gonna give you a chance because you're human.
Right.
So and that starts to me with the. In the baseball leagues, stop giving away participation programs.
Yeah, I can't stand that. It's like, I want my kids to know, like, hey, you played hard, but you lost this basketball tournament. So if you want to be better at basketball, we got to practice a little bit more and get better. Yeah. And then next year when you go back, you know, like, don't expect a trophy unless you. Just like with anything, like if I am not good at flying planes and they don't let me be a pilot, like I don't deserve to be a pilot. If I don't, you know, if I don't sell enough houses and I have to go get another job and I suck at real estate, I either can work harder at being a real estate agent, or I can go find another job that's not as difficult. And that's how it's supposed to be. And you're setting people up for failure by doing that.
To me, these whole programs, the DEI and everything else, are insulting to me.
Yeah.
So you're going to hire me for other than my capability of what I am.
Right, yeah. It's like I don't know why I'm really being hired if I'm part of a DEI.
Thomas Sowell, he's written volumes on this about, and not DEI because that's a little after his time. I don't think he's written much here lately about DEI. He did do something on social justice fallacies. Maybe in there, I hadn't read that book yet. But in the past, it's been affirmative action and those kind of things. He was a staunch opponent of affirmative action. He thought it was the most racist thing you could do to somebody.
Yeah.
And I think he's right.
Yeah.
And if you look back before the 1960s, you saw other nationalities starting to succeed in different jobs and careers. And literally the government is the one who stepped in and stopped them.
Right.
Trying to make sure they didn't get more powerful.
Right.
And of course, everybody who listens to the podcast by now knows I love the government. Yeah. I definitely think they're getting away with a lot of things.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yes, we could both agree that you should hire, anything should be based off of your merit and how hard you work at something. And I think in this country, time and time again, it's shown that if you work hard at something and you put your mind to it and you want to be the best at it, there's nothing else stopping you but yourself. And I guess DEI stops you because if you can be the best at something and get bypassed.
And you have to be realistic. I mean, when I was in high school, going into college, I loved basketball. I wanted to play basketball so bad. I wanted to be, and I worked at it, and I shot, and I could shoot well, and I could play okay, but I was not a great basketball player.
Right.
And I was never going to be good enough to play, but I wanted to.
Yeah.
So you also have to recognize, I'm white, I can't jump.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to come to grips with that. I've known people who wanted to be dancers that just didn't have the body for it.
Yeah.
And you just have to realize, okay, yes, a passion of mine, you can do it as a hobby, but you're not going to make a living at it because you just don't have what it takes.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I want to be able to reach the top shelf at the grocery store without having to get on my tippy toes, but God made me 5'6". I can't do anything about that. It just is what it is. And I can complain or I could just ask somebody to help me grab something off the top shelf, It just is what it is. Like there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it.
They reminds me of this man on the street interview with I forget, it's like in Alabama or Auburn or somewhere. They went around, they were talking about it wasn't DEI at that point, but it was like, having an equal representation across all races. Now, that's good. He says, okay, well, this college has this many percentage Caucasian, this many percentage African American, this many percentage Asian, but the football team only has So don't you think we need to make spots for these? And they're like, well, no. Why would we do? We want to win.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. Can't have it both ways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I said, it's a good example because like most sports, or other than maybe golf, are predominantly, and even Tiger Woods dominated golf single-handedly for years. But he was the best in the world, and he got paid like he was the best in the world, and his skin color didn't matter, and he dominated a sport that was all white people, and it doesn't matter.
You probably have more Hispanics in baseball.
Yep.
They just for their culture and all, especially in South America and all. And I've watched baseball down there. It's fun.
Yeah.
And in certain nationalities in soccer, NBA is mostly African American.
Yep.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
I don't begrudge that.
Yeah.
But it's like everything else. No, we can't have that.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, I would be totally fine seeing more races and whatever, my doctor or pilots or whatever, but if you want to do that, put scholarships or something in place to get these people to that level. If you see a discrepancy, don't force them in because you're just trying to fill it and make yourself look good as a company.
And then let them get to the bar. Let them give them the opportunity to overcome.
Yeah.
The best doctor I've had in the last 20 years was a doctor in Columbia, African American doctor, and I wished he was still practicing. I probably drive to Columbia to see him.
Yeah.
Color to me doesn't have any meaning on what you can and can't do.
Right, no, not in today's world.
And isn't that what Martin Luther King, I know somebody watching this probably get crazy because I mentioned his name. Somebody mentioned the name one time, we were crazy. But isn't what he said? Not by the color of your skin, but
that's it.
But by your character.
Yeah. So, you wanted to correct the things he was fighting while he was alive, but when you overcorrect and you go the other way, now you're just going the opposite way. You're just doing, you're literally just going, you're setting us back, you're just going the other way. But I don't think people realize when you try to go too far the other way, it actually ends up hurting people more than it helps. So you're just it's just a backwards way.
That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and it is what.
And that's gonna be painful. Trying to reset.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm in an industry where, it does, like you work for commission, so you can either work and make $30,000 a year, or you can work and make $800,000 a year if you want. And it doesn't matter what you look like if you're good at selling and people trust you to help them find properties, and you're good at lead generation and working the phones to get people to list their house with you. They don't really care what you look like. When you show up and they think you can sell their home, they're going to list with you. And there's all ethnicities in my industry, and I've never seen one not make it because of what they look like. But and my industry forces you to be based on merit because you're not paid just to show up. You have to work.
Right.
And if all jobs were like commission based, you would never have DEI because you wouldn't be able to make money. So I just think they need to just do it based off merit. And if you want to put programs in place to encourage people because you have a discrepancy of Asians that are pilots or whatever it might be, put those programs in place, whatever. And if people want to join those programs and get to the top of the game and they want to put the work in, that's fine. And then but you just forcing people into spots and overlooking people that are better for the job based off of skin color or gender or whatever it is literally the definition of racism or sexism. So you're literally just going the opposite way.
I agree.
Trying to reset it. So.
Except you can't be racist against a white person.
Yeah, I've heard that. But whatever. That just goes against the whole definition. So I can't even. I don't even have a good argument for that because that logic I can't argue with somebody with that logic.
I've noticed that lately, especially when I watch stuff online or listen to news reports and all. It's kind of hard to have a discussion with somebody who doesn't understand the basics.
Yeah, if that's their logic thinking right off bat, then you're never going to get anywhere because their thinking is so minimal to get to. That's where they've determined that you're never going to even see. Like you can't even find a happy medium there. So it's just like, okay, well you think that way. So
I used to teach students. When you're having a discussion, never just accept the premise of the question. Make sure the question is asked right.
Right.
And it's kind of the same kind of thought here. Going back to the question, though, what's the one they kept using for Pete Hecksmith? The questions they were asking him, what's the one about beating your wife? Oh, so when did you stop beating your wife?
Right.
Like you beat your wife, so let's not even discuss that part.
Right.
But that whole idea of getting started there instead of it foundation to be able to have a conversation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the whole confirmation hearings are a testament of what we're talking about with how you just word stuff to just grandstand and to make your points and then not let the other person talk. That's the biggest joke I've ever seen all of it. But we'll get into that in the next episode.
And next episode we'll do those. So we'll lead right into that.
Yeah, perfect.
Sound good?
Yep, absolutely.
Mortgage payment, insurance payments, credit card payments. They can be very overwhelming. Are you ready to take the time to get things under control? Then reach out to me at Clark Financial Coaching to see if we can get you started with a budget and then a vision for the future. Write me at coachwesc@gmail.com. That's coachwesc@gmail.com. Want to know more about economics? Then look for my podcast, Econ Sense, in Apple and Spotify, or reach out to me at wes.the.economist@gmail.com. That's wes.the.economist@gmail.com.
Are you looking to buy a property in North or South Carolina and need financing assistance? Give Motto Mortgage Coastal Pros a call today. We specialize in residential loans in both North and South Carolina and can meet all your residential home loan needs. Give us a call today at 843-957-3872. That's 843-957-3872. Thanks for listening to the Dollars and Cents Podcast with Jonathan the Conspiracy Theorist and Wes the Economist. Feel free to reach out to us on email with any feedback or any topics you want to hear on the show at dollarscentsgs@gmail.com. That's dollarscentsgs@gmail.com.